All right, everyone. Today is the day that you've maybe all been waiting for, and that's the update to my tier list for patch 5.3, and just in time as we go into next week with presumably a new patch. And I want to bring this list to you guys, which includes my thoughts on the new characters from patch 5.3, but also adjustments that I've made on previous characters based on the game meta, ones that I kind of use the most, and who I feel is worth those upgrades, or even demotions in some cases. So I hope you'll follow along with me as we get started on the list. And special shout out to OCJ421 as usual for helping me out with the infographic. He does awesome work, so thank you very much, my friend, for assisting me on this project. So without further ado, let's get this list started. Alright guys, and here we are with the updated patch list, the patch tier list for patch 5.3. I will be making this available in the description below if you happen to want to check this out on your own time. It's also available via my Discord. If you're not a part of my Discord channel, I do recommend checking that out, and you can find the link in the description for that as well. So let's get started with some of the adjustments that have been made. These are in no particular order, as I have quite a few to get through this time around, but we're going to be starting at the B category, and that's here. So you can see that I sort of made some adjustments, and I have a little key legend here. There is some highlights here, and normally the ones who have been changed are typically at the front of the list, although the newer characters tend to be at the bottom. Maybe I'll adjust this for next time. So getting started here, Nick Fury was actually shifted from C to B rank. Now, this is partly due to the recent permanence of his event and synergy with Kestrel. I mean, this isn't a huge bump in the tier list, but I think that for some people there might be a wider usability, at least in areas like Alliance War, defense, possibly, and maybe future Doom Raid's skill lane alongside Kestrel, although admittedly, my Nick Fury is still sitting at like tier 13, haven't really tested this out yet. Yelena is also getting a bump here from a C to a B. Recently she was made farmable, and with the rework for Skilletary and usable in the Skilletary training module flash event. Not much more to say here, but C was a bit low, I think, for her rating, since she is pretty decent now and has wider game use, especially with the flash event. Punisher was also bumped up from a C to a B. Now, you know, Punisher doesn't need a lot of discussion here. You know, this bump from C to B largely, again, relation to the Skilletary rework. I don't know if we should call it 2.0, but it is solid, and Punisher is the bulk of the damage on this team, and with the new Skilletary flash event, again, you know, for the training modules, I want to give him the extra nod for this inclusion too. Now, another character who did reach the B tier this time around is Cull Obsidian, but this was actually a downgrade from A to B. Now, this is due to the Black Order kind of being on the down, and he is not farmable, which kind of makes him more difficult to get shards for. With the arena meta changing, his overall use is kind of decreased from this time last year, and realistically, there isn't a lot of places to use him outside of this team. Unlike characters like Proxima, who still has some standalone value in places like Dark Dimension due to her kit, Cull is kind of slow, doesn't really have anything you can't get somewhere else from somebody else. So he is still part of that top Black Order team, but they are on the down, and he can't be farmed, so that's why I bumped him down to the B. Now, Taskmaster was getting started with the A tier here. Taskmaster was moved from B to A, so he got that bump. This was largely for popular demand by my Discord channel, wondering why he was B to begin with. And I mean, yeah, he's got a really great kit, and for someone who is a year old as well, he still stacks up pretty well. I also did hear through the grapevine that he is going to be made more farmable, since his node at Doom War 3.9 is being replaced with multiple man in the near future. Correct me if I heard differently, but I did hear that Taskmaster is going to be moving to Nexus Chapter 8. Don't quote me here on this one, though. That's what I heard from somebody else. His Merc team is still very strong, and I suspect maybe later down the road they might add more mercenaries to the game perhaps, and maybe revamp this team further in the future. Now, this wasn't actually shown on the tier list. This was supposed to make it into the tier list, but I did want to bump up Black Widow from B to A, so I'm going to mention it here. This one might be a bit of a surprise, but now that Black Widow has been added to that Skilletary team, this widens her use beyond the Wave 1 Avengers team, and I think it gives her more overall places to use, and so that's why I've decided to put her in the A category. even though it doesn't show here, given now that she's usable in both teams and the Skilletary Flash event, has some usability in Dark Dimension 3 and 4 with good red stars and even some synergy with Red Guardian now, if you so choose to use her in Doom Raid as a skill member there. So she's actually gotten a bit better, and I think it's worth gearing at some point. Yo-Yo was also recently added from the B tier to the A tier. Now that she is farmable, she's getting a bit of a nod to me back up to where she probably deserves to be, because she is actually a good character, but the Premium Orb 2% really devalued my opinion of her based on what she can accomplish at low star levels. That being said, I think more people are going to be using the Inhumans on the offense against a lot of these revive-heavy teams alongside Black Bolt, characters like the Heroes for Hire, perhaps even this new Infinity Watch, and so on. So Yo-Yo is very important here. She is also not bad for a backup for Bio Doom Raid lanes, and I'm thinking of actually unlocking her for my baby account to use in Arena, since her passive is still very annoying against a lot of people. So it's a lot easier of a farm now, which makes her more viable, I think, by the wider public in this sense. So she gets a renod to A. Now, Carnage was moved from A+ to A. There was a lot of shift in the symbiotes for me. A lot of this is in reflection of Dark Dimension 4 City, but also just the state of symbiotes, I think, as the two older ones of the team and the ones who have been around the longest, they are still a solid A, but I just don't think that there's any urgency to gear them up as there was before. I do have them at tier 14, and Carnage served me very well in Dark Dimension 3 City, but I didn't take him to Dark Dimension 4, and I don't think it's necessary to tier 15 him. They perform very well still in the Doom Raid bio lane at tier 14, but the passive is kind of what made Carnage so great, and you know, largely in relation to places like Alliance War now to make use of that. You don't really see it as frequently used in Doom Raid and Dark Dimension 4 because enemies have so much high hit points. So it's a lot easier to get cheap kills in Alliance War, which is why it's still great, just not so much in the most endgame of modes anymore. Baron Zemo got a really nice nod here from A to A+. Now, this is because of the Arena meta shifting, and a lot of people are using Baron Zemo in Arena now, especially alongside Doom, but I heard that people are still using him with Dad Bros, since he's incredibly fast and his passive triggers the Dad Bros speed bar with the crit, and the ball just keeps rolling on from there. Aside from Arena, people are using him quite extensively in the early game now as a strong villain character, since he is available to purchase from the Raid store. He is usable in Dark Dimension, amazing when used in RTA for what it's worth, Doom Raid, and of course Alliance War, and just frankly a lot of places wherever he can be used. He is a strong glass cannon with a powerful kit. Now, the next one I wanted to mention, this is going to become quite a surprise to some people, Thanos. Now, Thanos is being moved from S to A+. Now, it's rare that I drop people from my S tier list. I don't think I've done it in some time. There is a couple here, actually, to make mention of, but Thanos, again, is on the down due to Black Order losing its prominence, and while I may have said this is the top character to invest red stars back in the fall of last year, I can no longer say that to be the case now. Thanos used to be the only person I would actually spend 7 red star upgrades on, but now I can't really say this. If you have the team, he's still worth building, and Black Order is still a very strong offensive team. It's just been a year now, and they're slowly dropping off the hierarchy that they stood on top for so long. And moving up to A+, I'll probably get some flack for this one, but I'm bringing Scream in line with Anti-Venom, so she is moving up to the A+, and when it comes to symbiotes as a team as a whole, I kind of rate them as followed. You know, Symbiote Spider-Man to me is like kind of the top one, Scream and then Anti-Venom second because they were the newer ones, and then Carnage and Venom after that. You know, I know that Scream is currently in the Arena Orb, but I expect this to change, which means her overall farmability will be better than some characters, and she still maintains a lot of use for me, and I think that she is better than Carnage and Venom and deserved that a nod above them for this. But for, you know, feel free to fight me on this one. I know that some people probably will say that she's still probably like an A tier, not an A+, but hey, that's just me. Jubilee is also now finally getting a nod to the A+ category. This probably should have always been the case, but I was dragging my feet on this one because when she first came out, I was like, man, she doesn't seem that great. And then I started using her and the Astonishing X-Men, and even using her in Dark Dimension 4 in the Legendary lane. I was like, okay, I get it now. So there isn't a whole lot to say here, but she is a very solid character still. Even standalone with her kit, it's very handy. I don't use her in Arena, but basically everywhere else she does get used, so I think that she is still worth getting, of course. And of course, if you want any chance in hell to get Adam Warlock, you're going to need to get her anyways. So get that Jubilee, and for those of you who are unaware, requires Pimtech at 5-star. Her event will probably be coming around sometime soon. Black Bolt, now another drop from the S tier category for me. I swear I won't have any S tier categories left, any S characters left in a few patches, but this A plus category is getting larger. Again, maybe this has to do with Kestrel, but I really feel that with the power creep of Surfer and Kestrel, it kind of redefines sort of who is in that sort of S tier must-have or must-gear category for me. Black Bolt is still going to remain very relevant because of his kit, and he can stop characters from reviving as we get more reviving type kits with Heroes for Hire and Infinity Watch, but outside of Alliance War, I'm not really seeing a lot of use for him as I once did. His numbers are still very high with his damage. He's probably worth having a gear tier 14 when you're done with other characters, but he has not been in my top priority for some time. I hope that the Inhuman Royal Family release with Medusa, you know, down the line in the future might bring him up again, but for just now, I think this is probably where he is going to stay for me. Another move from the S category is Phoenix here. This was a hard one for me, but this was exclusively as a result of Kestrel. Now, I know that there are some people in my Discord specifically who hate it when I use Kestrel as an excuse, and I try not to, but I think that this was also coming anyways due to Ghost being global for Dark Dimension and usable kind of to replace Phoenix in that sense, especially in Dark Dimension 3 when there was no replacement for her before. She is still a very, very strong character and worth building for sure, but the urgency is no longer there compared to what it was before. If she's convenient to unlock, I would say go for it. Otherwise, I wouldn't go too far out of your way to farm for her necessarily to unlock. There's other replacements that you can use instead of her if it's convenient to do so. She isn't really hugely necessary for late game content in my opinion, and you can get away with using other characters, and as time goes on, there will be even more legendaries for Dark Dimension 4 if that's your concern. And so that basically covers all of the adjustments that I wanted to make for this tier list for this patch, but let's quickly also talk about the Gamora and Nebula rework for Infinity Watch. Now, Gamora probably made the most significant leap in the tier list, all the way from the D tier where she was here on the side to the A tier. Now, I did put her here in the A tier. This is because of her rework for Infinity Watch, and while the team isn't out yet, we have had a chance to take a look at the rework kit. The empowered form looks very impressive and actually is possible outside of the full Infinity Watch team, although made easier with the team. I am a bit conservative here. I think that she'll be really good, but I think A is a safe place to leave her just for just now until we get to test her more next patch, both with and without Adam Warlock, to see if she really deserves this placement. Now, to talk about Nebula, I did place her in the the B tier from the E tier. This is just another stab in the dark a little bit, but I just don't feel that Nebula's rework kit is as strong as Gamora's, who received the empowered form. It does bring her kind of in line usability-wise, but I don't know how much you'll be using her outside of that Infinity Watch team. So she is getting this for just now at the B tier, and we'll wait and see how things roll out next patch. Now, moving on to the characters of patch 5.3, I'm sure if you're on the lookout, you might already have seen where they're placed, but let's talk about them. So, to start off with the big guns, so Kestrel is here in the S tier as a must-have. Do I even need to explain this? Kestrel is quite possibly one of the strongest characters to come to Marvel Strike Force. She probably should have been here at the front of the list, the way I arranged this. I'll have to figure out if I want to decide to move this around next time, because really, she is probably the best two characters in the game next to her and Silver Surfer. So it's hard. I have a hard time deciding if I'm Camp Kestrel or Camp Silver Surfer, but they're both very, very strong. And to some degree, Kestrel makes a lot of the summoners obsolete, including characters like Phoenix, who she can block from turning into Dark Phoenix, and so many other characters. I'm afraid of her being an enemy in game modes like Dark Dimension 5 in the future. That might make using these other characters in a PvE game mode well obsolete, but we'll have to wait and see about that. That being said, she completely obliterates the arena game mode right now, both on my main account and my baby account. She is incredibly useful in raids, and of course Doom Raid, where she can be used in 2 lanes. She smashes it in Dark Dimension and War, and in fact, she ticks like pretty much every single box for me in every single game mode, and there is nothing she isn't good at right now. She is obviously Marvel Strike Force's exclusive character that gets the top slot at S rank for me, and she is definitely a must build. I know the tier list says must have, but I guess if you miss the event, then you might be a little bit out of luck for a little while. So, moving on from Kestrel, we do have Colleen Wing. Now, I did place her in the A tier, so she's first up for the Heroes for Hire, and that's because, well, her kit, based on her kit, she seems to be really the main damage of the team. So if I was going to gear raise anyone, it would probably be her. That being said, I can't possibly bring up anyone that is largely a one game mode character, much higher than an A, and that some people might be surprised she got an A anyways, and that's because she's probably the best on the team of 4, given her kit, and you could make some arguments for her use in, say, the Doom Raid for the skill lane if you have her beefy enough with high enough star levels. Her damage is actually fairly high. I do believe, though, that her passive is a little bit better than Misty Knight's passive in terms of the extra damage for the team, so that's why she kind of gets that nod, you know, as we talk about Misty Knight coming up here. So that's why she is on the A slot here, but they are one of the best war defense team without a doubt right now. It's war defense, and unfortunately I can't give a higher rating than A for a war only character in my opinion. So let's talk about Misty Knight. So she is here at the bottom here at the B, so she is put into the B category. And a lot of this is because I think that Colleen Wing is just a better character in my opinion. You know, Colleen Wing is the main damage of the team. Misty, on the other hand, while she is equally important to the team, you know, she provides, and realistically there is no heroes for hire without both Misty Knight and Colleen Wing. I don't think her wider usability is as potentially high as Colleen's, given the difference in traits between skill and tech. That being said, for me personally, I feel like if I had to choose between a 5 yellow, 5 red Colleen or Misty, I would take a Colleen Wing. For me personally, not a whole lot else for me to say about them really, though, given they are primarily a war defense team, but they are going to be very good at what they do. Just not a whole lot more outside of this. So that's the end of the 5.3 tier list, guys. Let me know if you approve or disapprove of some of my rankings here for some of my characters. A lot of them have stayed the same. If I didn't mention them here today, then they didn't get any adjustments, but every month I do, every patch, I do make adjustments to the list based on where I think that they've been used and how often they're used, you know, where they are in the game meta, that kind of thing. I do like to make adjustments to that. So let me know in the comments down below if there's anything you guys feel I missed, if there's anything I should consider for next time. I'm always looking to improve the list, of course, and you know, I'm not always right either, but I just wanted to kind of give you guys something to look at. If you guys are in need of some advice or some suggestions as to what to build, then I think that this sort of should help you as an idea frame of sort of who is good, who isn't, and who is not worth investing. And in case you guys are new to the patch list, I probably should have said this up front, that basically anyone B or above is probably worth building. Anyone in the C or D, the C category typically are those supporting cast members, but really the supporting cast members that aren't overly useful, and the D typically aren't worth building unless they're useful for a flash event. Other than that, I would not build them, and E is not even worth talking about, so we're not going to talk about that. So that's the end of this list, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it, hope it was helpful, and definitely smash that like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, do join up on the Discord, which you can find all of that information in the description below if you're interested. Until next time, guys, stay safe, and I'll see y'all later. Boilon signing out.